kamaunai kalaie. Kunihi kamaunai kalaie. Oi ale ale ai wailua.
Typically how I grew up, and how most of the students here that grew up in Hawaii grew up, is you always ask permission to enter wherever it is, whether it's the forest, the ocean, or when you're visiting someone's house, you just go, "Oh, hey, auntie, are you home?" So you let someone know that your presence is there. So same with here. I have them do an olikahea to call out to the mentors that we are here, are we allowed to enter? And whether they believe in Hawaiian traditions or the spirituality or not, the main focus was to mentally prepare them for the work that was ahead. Alright, good morning everybody. Welcome to your last week of SPICE. Announcements for today.
So we named this program the SPICE program, and that stands for Supporting Pacific Indigenous Computational Excellence. It's funded through the National Science Foundation and specifically through their Includes mechanism, which is really about broadening participation, equity, representation in the STEM disciplines.
Most people have a passion. Most people care about something significant, something particular, something that they have a personal connection to. And traditional educational tracks very rarely allow you to learn in the context of that personal connection. But when you have a personal connection, it's almost like an adhesive. It's a glue. It allows other concepts that we know you need to stick. And I think in the absence of that, you lose a lot of kids, particularly kids who may be in other fields but may not really realize they would be really happy in computer science or data science, or because of the way it's taught and because of the way it's presented to them.
In undergrad, you don't really learn research. And this is their first, some of them is their first dive into research. And so it was fascinating to see how these students went about doing research. It was nice to see them applying a lot of their competencies and also learning them at the same time.
Teaching, I like to see the final product. So watching the students go through the struggle, watching the light bulb go on when they actually understand, and not just spoon feeding them information, having them memorize, regurgitate, and then continue on.
What's nice with what these students experience and what we as staff and faculty experience was them being able to identify what's my next steps, and these are my next steps, and how can I go about it. So that's the kind of conversations I like to hear outside of a program after they finish a program.
I'm really happy that I was able to do this program because it still is, a really good program for me to develop not only data science skills that I never had before, but just learn about problems in the world and be able to voice an opinion about it. So
I believe that data can benefit anyone, especially teachers, because then I can teach that to my students that data could then be utilized in their careers or even like research projects like this.
Well, in the beginning of the program, I remember Kelly asking us, she said name anything, and she would tell us how data science is associated with that field. And it just made me realize how important data science is in every field. How wherever you go, from business or healthcare, there's always going to be data science involved.
I feel like a lot of us are very passionate about what we're looking for, especially our specific topics, because I think majority of us have some kind of personal connection to it, or they wanted to learn something outside of their major.
It's being able to create a social change, a change in the community where I'm living in. Yeah, because not everyone gets this opportunity back home.
This isn't really even about data science, it's about power. Information is power. Agency over information is empowering. And if these students are going to be the future leaders who change their community, who shift the needle on all of these inequities, who achieve some semblance of social justice in this place, then they're going to do it through wielding data as their primary weapon. And that's what I've really come to believe about the importance of this program.
A lot of things you hear sometimes when you come from a particular indigenous group is that when you go into the westernized way of learning things, you lose your identity in some sense. And that's one thing that I wanted to emphasize with the students, is to maintain who they are, what they value, along with incorporating the Western ways.
Hawaiian communities and society has valued the process of inquiry, empirical research, and experimentation for 1,000 years. I mean, it's the basis of the culture. But I think what has happened in more modern times is that science, the scientific endeavor of the United States, for example, is so westernized and it's so colonized that it is exclusionary to people who want to remain connected to their culture, to their family, to their community. That is not a starting place from which you are likely to be successful in the dominant culture that is American science, right? And so it's not so much that there's any antithetical kind of conflict between being Hawaiian and being science. It's that science doesn't allow you to be Hawaiian. And so what we decided to do at Chaminade is, instead of trying to change the students, we decided to try and change the science. And when you see the students expressing themselves as cultural individuals and scientific individuals in the same breath, then that's when we know that we are at least on the right path.
They were working on some incredibly powerful problems. I mean, healthcare inequity, homelessness, economic differences, financial literacy. What you didn't hear was all of the reasons why those kids are looking at those problems. They're going to be the ones that actually are at the forefront of solving them.